Welcome to Vassa Talks podcast. My name is Mario Milanovic, and today it gives me great pleasure to have Rana Mukherji on. Rana has 2 decades of global hospitality experiences. He's the president of Vassa Hotels Wellness Clinic and Members Club, a leading brand that elevates lifestyle through bespoke luxury and wellness. His mission is to create unrivaled experiences for his guests where they can indulge in spa treatments, savor exquisite cuisines, and unwind in luxurious accommodations. As a member of Vassa's exclusive club, they also get to enjoy VIP services, events, and amenities that enhance their lifestyles. Rana has a proven track record of delivering exceptional customer service and driving business growth in the hotel industry. He has overseen and pre-opening of iconic properties such as Fairmont and Raffles in Dubai and worked with top brands such as Marriott Hotels, Regent International, Bespoke Hotels, and I.F.A. Hotels Investments. Beyond his hospitality experiences, he's also the founder and CEO of goldbeck.com, an award-winning startup. Thank you for being on the podcast today, Rana.
Thank you, Mario.
And I really wanted to get you on the show. We just saw each other in Dubai about a month and a half ago, and we've been friends for I don't know 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years now. I don't even know. And we met in Vancouver, Canada. And your background is really, really interesting to me, but also our guests as well. We're in the hospitality industry, you still are, and you really, really have some amazing stories to tell. And I wanted to get you on here and talk a little bit about that.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. You've been an inspiring figure for me.
I know that you have been at the highest levels of the top hotels in the world, from Singapore to Canada to Dubai, and before we get into that, and before we get into your latest ventures, which are really cool, I remember you telling me a really inspiring story about when you first started out as a young man in India, and I've told this story many times to some really, really good friends about how you started out and how you moved from your little city to the big city, and all everything that you had to go through. And if you don't mind, I would really love to hear that story. It's such an inspiring story, like the train and sharing the rooms and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be really, really cool for our viewers to hear your background before we get to the big leagues.
Wow, it's been a good 20, 30 years down the road. Yeah, look, it's a very typical Indian story, to be honest. Now I don't find it any more special because I've been there. But if you ask me to do it,
no, we want to hear it. It's really, really inspiring. I love it.
I'm from a very small town, right? But small town in India, it's 3 million people. So, so a small town called Jabalpur, which is center part of India. And I remember my first moment when I went to Mumbai. A friend of mine said that take a 1 month vacation because you will not get this again. I passed the hotel school, took a train, and in fact, I remember I asked my father for $100 those days. It was 7,000 rupees then, or $150 then. And I said, give it to me after my birthday, 5th of August. I moved on 7th, moved to Mumbai. That's the first time I saw, I'm talking about tower building. So I was quite in 20s, early 20s or 19, somewhere there. Just passed from the hotel school. The first time I saw the building, and then I just dressed up. You have to go to a 5-star hotel. It's all of a sudden you're changing the game. So I started. The first thing I did is I acted to be a guest rather than an employee. So I end up going to all the hotels in the lobby just to feel that I belong here. With the little money, I started ordering myself a coffee to feel how it tastes and so on. So that was the aspiration. So I was quite, but Mumbai, it's a place where you get a job very easily, but it's very hard to find a place to live because they also have these high deposit structure and all, which I didn't have. So Yeah, I had a first 15 days to stay, and then I realized that I'm getting a job, but I'm not getting a place to stay. I found a place with 9 people in a room. The owner loved me a lot, so he gave me the
Okay, so
kitchen to live.
hold on a second. You had 9 people in the room. That's crazy. That's like unimaginable, you know. So you're sharing one room with 9 people, and you're basically in this new city with what's the population of Mumbai? Insane, 25 million, and you're sharing this room, and you basically you got a job, and I think you told me a story about even before you got to the room, weren't you like in the trains and you were like the first, I don't know, week or something, you were sleeping in the train, is that right?
Yeah, because you don't have a place to live. What do you do? So I bought a train pass, which is an unlimited train journey, and uh, and the train used to travel. I remember between 2 to 4 in the morning there was no train. So one way was always full of traffic, and the other way was empty. So when it was empty, I used to sleep, and when it was full, I used to stand still. And between 2 to 4, I used to go to the Oberoi Hotel
Unbelievable.
lobby and sit there. So it was.
Wow. This is the kind of stuff that sends shivers up my spine. It really does, because I know you as this distinguished gentleman and as this general manager of these top hotels of the world. But the inspiration is that once you basically take the curtains and open them up, that's where the meat of the story is. So this is crazy, because I love this story. So you basically get there before you even share a room with the 9 people. You're basically living on a train for 45 days, and you were sleeping there. You were trying to make a better life for yourself, and it's just I just love it. I think it's fantastic. So then basically you graduate from the train to the room with the 9 people. And how long did you have to live in that room?
The Dubai or Mumbai is very interesting because it's all this 9 people. I like to say it's everybody is like me, right? All our MBAs all came there to the city of our dreams. Everybody wants to be somebody. I remember one wants to be a cricket player, one was flying with an airline. So you're not like you're you're challenging, but everybody from all over India came there with the same aspiration. So that's why I never felt in that city that I'm right in the bottom of food chain. I'm struggling with all this because people by my side, quite such a supportive
Right.
system of aspiration. It's a different, which is you don't need food, but and I remember 45 days. Every day somebody invited me somewhere. So I say, hey, let's go for a party. So it's sometimes on
Amazing.
the beach, sometimes in there. You figure it out, and so that's where so there are days when things are not going
Yeah,
well. I always look back there, oh, where I came from, and if I could do that, I'm sure
absolutely.
this is far more easier now. Um, but I was quite aspirational in terms. I was always well dressed. It doesn't mean that if I'm staying, I didn't have a place to stay, I will be run down there. No, it wasn't the case. Always had an access. So all I say to you, sometimes when things are not, this is the lesson I learned. Even if you are down, if you're able to portray yourself up there, um,
Absolutely.
yeah, those dirt never touches you, right? Because you maintain your identity. Uh, but and it's always about one journey to the other. And in fact, I got a job with Fairmont exactly the same way. One of the customer happens to be the director of HR for Fairmont, and I was a butler then, and I was looking after him. He said, "Hey, you should come to Dubai," right? And that's the way I got the job from nowhere, from serving Prince Al Walid to Elton John, you name it. Actually, I've been there. Did my journey of that time. It was quite. Uh, it means it's a story of some other day, but I just lived the moment and just believed of something bigger than me.
Right. So now so before you even get to Dubai, you were in India. You were working at the Oberoi. Is that right?
No, Oberoi, I
Okay.
started my training, and then I was with the Regent Mumbai,
Okay.
under Carlson Hospitality. So that's where I was a butler there in '99. So then I came to Dubai,
Okay.
and I opened the Fairmont Dubai. Uh, so then I moved to Africa in 2009. In fact, I was 29 that time, and that's the first time I became a general manager with Fairmont Hotels. So from a butler to keep evolving about.
Amazing, amazing. So before we even get to Africa, you're in Dubai now, and you're opening up the Fairmont Dubai, and I know what it's like. I was actually part of two hotels, one at the Fairmont in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I was part of the reopening crew of the hotel because it had been closed for 30 or 35 years, and it's actually a castle, and I was part of the group that reopened it. And I actually worked as a server in the fine dining room. And then the second time is I actually owned a hotel in Oklahoma City with 194 rooms, and that is a story in itself. But uh, me knowing how difficult it is, what do you think was one of the craziest things about opening Fairmont Dubai? Because when you opened Fairmont Dubai, Dubai wasn't what it is today, obviously, right? So it must have been a lot of risks, a lot of owners breathing down your neck. Walk us a little bit through that. What was that like?
I still say it was the glorious days, because Dubai was always mm, a country. Yeah, first time I remember when I came from Mumbai to Dubai, I had the feeling. I said, how come the city? Because Mumbai pace is very different. Then I said, wow, this is like a serene. It's peaceful. Then I felt there I'm competing with 25 million people. Here, all of a sudden, the competition is less, right? So all of a sudden, I start feeling this might be the city which helps to grow. And Dubai always been on that way. The only thing changed from then to now, the pot started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? But in a smaller pot, you are someone, and a bigger pot, you grow along with that, right? So uh, to be fair, the core of Dubai, it started then or maybe 10 years earlier, but the aspiration was the same, and always used to feel, will Dubai will survive the next wave? Oh, it looks too good to be true. It's too big to be true, and every single time it comes up even bigger than the previous one. Uh, but I actually personally, been in Canada, Africa, and so on. I love Dubai. It's just because of the mindset. So the mindset which was then and now, it's about progressive, beyond uh, religion, culture. It's all about giving a neutral place for people to succeed, right? And yes, those days, because it
Yep.
was
Yep.
different kind of money, you could feel the difference of the money, so the party used to be wilder then. I remember the penthouse party, how it used to happen. I remember one day somebody ordered for 50 burgers and about 50
Yeah.
club sandwich in one room, right? So imagine. So those kind of parties, which I'm sure it happens now, but it's different because it's place became bigger. There's more place to party those days. It's a funny stories, but I'll rather keep that.
That's right.
When you're running a
That's right.
hotel, you're exposed to many other things which you don't say it. But it was fun. But I
Okay.
don't feel the difference in DNA which it was then and now. It's still the same. No, that was South Africa, right? Before, yeah, yeah. So before I was in Kenya,
Okay.
and that's where I was managing Fairmont Mount Kenya Safari Club. This was a Hollywood playground. In fact, this hotel was owned
Okay.
by Adnan Khashoggi. Sorry, Adnan Khashoggi,
Jesus.
the biggest arm dealer of 1970s, and he gifted this hotel to his son, right? So if you go to his, and that time I was a general manager, so I was quite fortunate to stay in his villa, and his bed size was 12
Yeah.
feet by 12 feet because he's a big man, right? No, Kenya, I'll say to you, Kenya, Africa, uh, these are the most challenging hotel business I have ever done. But deep inside, I feel I'm African, because it connects the society, the people. South Africa it's different. It's a European version of Africa. I always say that. It's beautiful. Everything structure is there. But we had lots of issues with integrity and many other aspect. Uh, I and those days with Fairmont, I was quite in the role of going to the hotel, addressing the concern, and then fix it and move on. Right. I will not go much in details, but yes, there were lots of issues uh, from from a theft to the frauds to many other aspects. And everybody who lived in Africa, they will understand it. And because the level it's such a different level. And from that level, I came to Canada, right? Because it's a different magnitude. And it's a different aspiration because people
Right.
get motivated there with one Coca-Cola, right? I remember on the staff motivation day, if we keep Coke, they are all happy, right? Then the other side of the world,
Right.
right? With Coca-Cola
Right.
is an aspiration. It's not an expectation, right? So when you're managing the hotels in Africa, but the expectation of the guests, these are all European customers and all, the expectation is right up there. But to taking this crew to deliver this expectation,
Right. So I remember you telling me that all the managers previous to you were getting death threats and things like this, right? Because they were basically not aligning with their way of doing business, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about that. You don't have to name names, but what was it like to walk into a situation where previous management were getting death threats, and you're the new guy, and did you have to wear a bulletproof vest, or what was that like?
you know, it's surprising. We got so used to of these threats that it's no more a big concern because that's a part of the lifestyle, right? You always go with the security. You're staying in the home, keeping the laser fence on because yeah, and that was the home. We are protected because it's a different chain of people, right? It's an organized corruption, but in a different magnitude. So you don't even know who's involved where. You just have to protect yourself. Nothing in personal. I remember it was all about process driven, and I didn't fire, to be honest, but I created the process in a way that most of the people left. And it's scary because the time I reached there, the first example I was told in Johannesburg, one of the food and beverage director was thrown from the top floor. So I was like, so, so I so to me it's scary, right? So you're coming up with that aspiration, but then once you're part of the system, right, you understand where it happens. I remember there was a firing happening, staff were getting a martial arts training. They used to get a pepper spray as a
Wow.
part of uniform, right? uh, because they used to always get to the thefts during the month of Christmas, The Christmas time was the most volatile because everybody needs money, everybody up there. So when they're going home, so we had a professional training, and it went through this entire. And
Sure.
unless you are there, you don't know. Even if, I'm not doing a favor by saying it in a way, but
Right.
once you are there, these are undercurrent, right? It takes, but to be honest, do I love Africa?
Sure. Ama- Amazing. I mean, I just love hearing these stories because it's like, like again, it goes back to when you see somebody or talk to them, and you just don't know that there's this whole background and this experience. Let's go back to Kenya. I remember you telling me about the type of packages that you guys used to have. Where you take the helicopter to a picnic, and then you're watching the animals. Graze at the watering hole and all that. Walk me through some of those things. I remember that you even told me that one of the, I don't know, it was a king or prince of England. I can't remember what it was, but tell us a little bit about that experience. What is that like? And I mean, that level of service, it's just incredible, right?
Yeah, because the definition of luxury has changed, right? Uh, and this is what I've experienced over a period of time, right? Because before, luxury was, oh, there is a flat screen TV. Oh, you put a button, the windows gets open, and all these. Then you say, oh, wow, that's a five-star hotel, right? Now, because
Right.
of people have a better home than a hotel, right? So now, the luxury is about these unique experience which you don't get it in your urban lifestyle, right? So Kenya is, I would say, sitting at the epitome of experience. So this specific hotel is 100 acres of land with a golf course inside. We have our own horses, peacocks. I remember the days when I take the horse, goes to the mountain. The chef is has set up a breakfast for us. Having a champagne, having a breakfast while looking at the Mount Kenya, and
Amazing. Amazing.
with elephants grazing and all these things, right? So that's where I remember the specific day where we kept the helicopter like a taxi, right? Our goal was to take this our guest from the helicopter to go to the Mount Kenya. She's on the most beautiful mountain in the world,
Okay.
and we do a smoke trout fishing, right? So we go there right on the glacier. We do a trout fishing. We open our champagne. We have our breakfast there, and then come.
Hmm.
In fact, Kate Middleton and Prince
Wow.
Williams exchanged their ring there, right? And that was the time. Yeah, and I happened to meet
Yep.
John Donson,
Miami Vice.
Don Johnson there, and that was in out of blue, right? He came, hi, I'm Don Johnson. I say, hi, I'm Rana Mukherjee. How do you? I had no clue who was he, but later we became good friends. Very humble man. But that's Kenya for you, right? It's because in our hotel uh, we have a movie
Yep.
studio where the
Wow.
bridge in the River Choir, William Holden, used to own our hotel, right? Because he sold it to Adnan Khashoggi. So all the movies
Amazing.
like Sabrina and few other movies were all shot in my hotel. And my hotel was called as a Hollywood playground. From John
Incredible.
Travolta, you name
Incredible.
it, everybody was there in that hotel, right? So yeah, that was the African journey, which
Absolutely. Well, I remember I've been to South Africa twice now for a month each, and the day I went to a 7 day wedding, and then I went to, which was crazy, and then I went to a safari, 4 day safari, just north of Port Elizabeth, and it was life changing. I remember uh, being surrounded by these wild animals and thinking like, man, this is real life, like, you watch National Geographic or whatever, but being in that area and being in with those animals, just it kind of changed my life. I know it sounds cheesy, but like it really changed my life and perspective on life as well. So I highly recommend anybody going to Africa and going to a safari. So, amazing stories. Uh, and then from there, you went to Vancouver, Canada, right? Yeah, so that's where we met when you were the manager at the Fairmont Vancouver airport, and we had many great lunches and breakfasts, and we had some fantastic talks about different things. Um, what do you think is today, like you touched on it briefly about everybody's home is better than most hotels now. So I think that when it comes to experiences and everything like that, I just came back from Dubai, as you know, and I stayed at the Mandarin Oriental, and I have to tell you the level of service, it was just ridiculous. I mean, my favorite hotel in the world is the Mandarin Oriental in Bangkok. It's been there for, I believe, 137 years or something like that. And I keep saying that when I feel that they have the wrong person, in other words, like they must be mistaking me for somebody, that feeling is when you have reached the epitome of hospitality industry, So it's, you're like, they must think I'm somebody else because the level of service I'm getting is like, it's ridiculous, right? So, how do you establish that type of quality? And I know that you have to start with obviously with people that have experience in the upscale hotel industry, but how in the world are you able to maintain and even train for something like that, especially because the majority of employees have not been in a five-star environment as a guest, so how do you, I've always wondered about that. How do you get these people to understand luxury when they themselves are not wealthy, I suppose?
See, I always say to you, in hospitality, people, you've been there, you know, better than most of us. Uh, is it's always about selecting the right people, and uh, you could feel some people will appreciate a beautiful foie gras, and some people, even if they say, "What is that?" Right? So it's about what makes them happy. So when you select the right people, I remember, I come from a small town, but the exposure which over a period of time came in because of who I wanted to be. I could not afford multiple beers, but every time I used to do
Yep.
it, I used to drink only one brand at a time, so that by the time I get a choice of Heineken, because there's so many brands, so I used to go taste, write it down, remember, and come back. Uh, Again, I said, before even I got a hotel job, I went and have a coffee in the five-star to feel, because that's all I could afford it. Um, but it's about the choices you make. And I, coming back to the point, the first thing I told whenever I hire somebody is, you have to put yourself in guest shoes. But if you put yourself in guest shoes, you also have to think it's not like what will he feel, but you also have to live his lifestyle. So it becomes, all of a sudden, things start becoming, but be genuine, right? Uh, and I'd say to somebody is, start breathing, because when you breathe, then you will also start feeling the difference, right? Is the temperature correct? Oh, is the lighting, if I sit here, is the lighting is falling on my eyes? Where will the
Yep.
customer sit and read? So this is a show, right? So when the customer comes to your door, it's a show starts, and we
Right.
are the actors of the movie, right? Which includes your makeup. You had a bad day at home, doesn't matter. When you're at work, you have to be right up there, right? So every single day is, and you keep saying this over and over again, because remember, you are motivating somebody to make somebody else Valentine Day, when on the Valentine Day they are working, right? I don't even remember New Year's Eve. I go and say
Yep.
Happy New Year to
Absolutely.
everybody else other than myself, right? So so that's the DNA as it keeps coming of yeah, and that's what it's service about,
Right.
right? It's you get happy when others feel happy. And I have to say, I have made so many friends who were the guests. In fact, I'm still in touch with them and as a friend. So because you connect in deeper. Uh, yeah, because I remember my first check-in I did,
Oh my God.
uh, and the customer fainted at the same time. And I have a recommendation letter for that specific day, and he got a high fever. He hold my throat. I had a welcome drink in my hand, and I
Oh
fall
my
with him.
God.
That was my first check-in in the Regent Mumbai. All right. And then he passed out and so on, and then I
Right.
cleaned him up, took him to the hospital, and all these things. So that was my first experience. And then you realize what you are in, right? You are gender neutral. You are here for the customer, right? You don't have
Right.
any, but you always know who is your customer. I remember every single customer I used to read their profile, and now it's more easier. And then educate myself. If I'm with the financier, I'll read Economic
Right.
Times, and then I meet him, so I can talk in the same level. Uh, yeah, it's those days are done where you say yes sir, no sir, And I was trained by the Sir Ivor Spencer team, right, where we used to iron the newspaper, and so that
Right.
the ink don't touch the customer's finger. I'm talking about that level. But situation has changed. The hotel brands have
Right.
changed, and that's why I started staying now more into boutique hotels, where I get more recognition, more about who they are. There's still a character there about the owner character, rather than these copy paste brands all across. And you're getting American service right in the Thailand. You remember when we went in Thailand, and you're saying, why I'm getting these typical American service in the
Yep.
center of
Right.
Koh Samui or Phuket or so on, right? And that's where I think,
Hmm.
because this now luxury is becoming a mass, and now that the top 5 or 10%
Right.
uh, for that.
Absolutely. Well, I agree with you. I think that I've spent last 20 years in hotels, and uh, very few chains are able to execute that. And again, going back to Mandarin Oriental does it, Bulgari perhaps does it, a couple other ones, but I do agree with you. I think definitely in the next 5 to 10 years. I'd like to go back into a boutique hotel environment, but very boutiquey, very small service where you basically just shake your head, right? In terms of how in the world do you know that I like bubble gum from Indonesia, like so that level of service I think is really interesting. And it doesn't it the client doesn't care about the money at those levels. They don't care if the room is 1,000 or 10,000 or 20,000. They don't care. They have the money, and they just want to be able to relax and get the certain respect and of course the service, right? So yeah, that's super interesting. But I also want to go to, I know that you also worked in Singapore at Raffles, right? But there was a really interesting tidbit that you told me about Raffles in Singapore, and that is they have the Singapore slings there, correct? That's the birthplace of the drink. And you told me the amount of cocktails that they sell per month. Can you tell me? Can you tell us a little bit about that, because it was just mind blowing?
And that's what about it, right? Because people wants that part of that history, and you can get a part of the history with the $40. You see, it's but in normal way, if you say somebody say give me $40 for a cocktail, I said, hey, forget it. But there you have to take it, and you have to throw the peanuts shell on the.
I mean, I can't even imagine for you having worked in the Middle East and in India and in Africa, and then all of a sudden now you're catapulted into Canada, Vancouver, Canada. What was that like? I mean, it must have been a big culture shock for you, right?
Uh, no, no, absolutely. I think the Vancouver was maybe I went on the rainy season. That's the first time, particularly the
Yeah,
weather-wise. I couldn't figure it out. The sun doesn't come out every day, right? Because in Dubai, it's guaranteed that sun comes every day, and that was my first shock, and which people find it a bit funny. But for me, I have taken sun for a granted before I went to Canada, to be honest. Yeah, it's. I think the amount of it's a very different country, until and unless again Canada, right? Because it's immigrant, people are coming from a different place with a different background. They come in here, find an heaven, and now they live together in a certain way. The aspiration is different there. It's uh, People
right.
initially found me was quite out of place, right? Because your ideas are out of place. How you dress up is out of place. Your food habits, everything, it's very different. But I was quite fortunate to find you guys on a good times.
That's
I
right.
remember the
That's
Fridays we
right.
used to meet for a scotch and a cigar in a boardroom, yeah, and I look forward to it. Yeah, so no, Canada, to be honest, it was the part of the journey, and after that, I realized what I'm missing. That's why I left Canada and came back to the region, and yeah, it was a good time to. I went through this full cycle, and many of the answers I
Right. What was that
found
thing that you were
a
missing?
bigger meaning what I need from myself. I, it's about that, right? I felt you took a tree, mm, and you put it in a different place, and now you expect this tree to flourish in a North American accent. Then all of a sudden you say, "Hey, who am I?" The core of who am I, right? The friends, family, food, culture, all these together, it's me, right? Then if you displace me all of a sudden and say, this is now I have to see ice hockey, I have to appreciate this, I have to go for this, this is it, wow, everything is in a high exclamation. I was feeling first I was actually went because first of all you're a hotelier, right? And hotelier you are actually more
Sure.
you accept more things than rest of the people. So imagine people who are not exposed to it, and who've been exposed to it. I'm quite open with my food. That's what I first felt, right? But then I think over a period of time, I remember you and me, and well, I think we played one game, and that's where my entrepreneur journey start of that specific game, which was unlimited money. You remember on the top we were having cigar, and we say, you started this game. You say how much your money will never get over, but you have to spend it to get more. And that's the time I started. Okay, $5,000, then 10, and became, and so on. And then I started investing on the idea which it is. Before that, I never had that trigger moment. So I think my trigger moment for my entrepreneur journey was starting
That's awesome. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about
in
that. So
Vancouver.
your entrepreneurial journey, started then, and tell us a little bit about where it led to, and and I know it involves crypto and hospitality industry. Tell us a little bit more about that and what you're involved in today.
Game.
Okay.
Within a week, I booked a vacation for me in the Mediterranean, and I chose about
Wow.
30 odd hotels to stay in 30 days, right? And I stayed with the different boutique hotel owners, right, with an objective of acquiring them and creating, yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, I went to Malta, Croatia, Montenegro, UK, the entire belt. And I was staying with different guys and trying to look at it. And uh, and most of my meals were paid for. Few places my accommodation was looked after and all. And I was quite genuine, right? I looked into their books and I realized what are the challenges they are facing. Because what happened is a generation shift happened. Because the mother and father were running the hotels, they are now old. Younger generation don't want to carry the legacy, and they can't hire anybody
Right.
new to up there. Otherwise, how will the family run, right? And that's where the stunning collection idea came up. And then over a period of time, I went into crypto with the hotelier coin launching in, and then the gold back. And the gold back happened out of accident because my loyalty points got expired or
Yep.
devalued. I used to have lots of Starwood points, right? And Marriott took over Starwood, right? And my points got devalued, but in my mind, that with my points, I could stay close to, I think, 100 room
Yep.
nights I could stay for free, technically, or free, or it's from my points. And then when the Marriott bought Starwood,
Right.
now I'm able to stay only about less than 50 room nights, right? So I called them. I said, hey, I'm a customer. You gave it, and throughout my
Yep.
life, I've been
DNA.
looking after the customer, right? That's in my DNA. Then I said, you give me something, and then overnight you devalue it. So then, what kind? It's not a reward, right? He said, no, it's a terms and condition. I said, it's a brand centric. It's about you, right? But if I have earned it, and that's the time I realized the value of the point system, which
Wow.
happens about 89% of loyalty points expires every year, which is 100, which is
Wow.
$100 billion
I
worth
had
of
no idea.
points expire only in US, right? And and when they issue the
Right.
points, it's sitting as it's a liability on their issuer books, and they are issuing at the 1 cent value, and the perceived value is 12 cents. So the customer always have this, oh, I'm getting more, 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 but actually,
Right.
and the brands are issuing, but not the hotel owners. Remember, so the brands were
Yep.
making by selling the points or by getting the brand acquisition. And that's the time the gold back came in. We said the points has to be valued with something tangible, and it's not an issuer as a liability sitting as an asset as a liability. And
Right.
if the gold price goes up, the points purchasing power goes up. Otherwise, if I give you 1 rupee note or 1 dirham note today or $1 note today, the
Right.
purchasing power of $1, because your price keeps fluctuating, it will not able to buy that. And with the gold, it's always curb the inflation. And that's where the points came in. The gold back was formed. And now
Okay.
on 10th of November, we are launching gold back in India, because it's a very
That's right.
auspicious day in India where every Indian buy gold on 10th
Okay.
of November, called Dhanteras, is a goddess Lakshmi day. And so that's the first, so in uh, a platform called
Amazing.
Gold Back. So we are giving cash back in gold. So we have an affiliate marketplace, 1,000 brands. You go and make a purchase. The brand gives us the affiliate fees. We take the 50% of the fees. We buy gold, and we top up the digital gold on your wallet. Now, and your purchasing power as per the value of the gold. Gold went up by 10%, and it goes up. And the other thing which I'm
Excellent.
uh,
Wonderful. Okay, we'll put that in the description as well. So that's super interesting. I mean, I've myself at one point had 14 million American Express points, and I don't remember the last time I flew economy anything under over 2 hours. So it's kind of hard to spend some points sometimes. But I think if you're smart with the points, you can definitely fly around the world in business or in first class or stay in some really cool hotels. So it's worth looking into as well. But I do like the fact that, I mean, you sound almost like you know a person that's talking about a government, right? With the fiat that's not backed by anything, they just keep printing it, and it's very similar, right? So it's it's going back to the gold standard, or maybe even the Bitcoin standard, hopefully. So it's a really interesting concept. I really love it. Yeah. So that's wonderful. Okay. Well, look, I don't want to take any more of your time. I know that you have a busy life. and I usually end my podcasts with the following: if you were in my shoes and you would have asked yourself a question that I didn't ask, what would that be?
The most important, which I always push it myself to answer that, is uh,
Okay.
it's what success means to me right now, right? Is Because once you achieve, these are social norms, right? You create, oh, once I'll be GM, I'll be happy. Now I founded a hotel company as well called Vassa Hotels. The new one, the hotel coming in Seychelles, you're going to see. But you keep doing this because
Yeah.
this was success looks like. Oh, if I have a car, it's some success and so on. But you know what I realize? Oh, you reach an age when you start losing friends. Uh,
Wow.
uh, so three of my school friends died last year, and I lost my father. And you start finding a deeper meaning of life, right? What is We are not immortal, right? And what gives me happiness right now, to be a father of my daughter, it gives me an ultimate happiness. And that's what life is about, a journey. It's not about chasing the tick box and, oh, this is done, this is done. So you need to sometime pause, look after your health. I think that's the only thing which it's in your
Yeah.
hand. We look after our car more than ourselves, and take it easy, right? Be more forgiving to yourself. Take it easy, breathe. Um, I wish I could say I could have done this a bit earlier, so I could have saved good 10 years of my life rather than worrying about the future. Because once you achieve
That's right.
things, you realize,
Yeah.
you look back, you say, what I was worrying for, right? And I think this is the only message I wish to send it to all the youngsters: is don't start chasing the tail, because somebody else is writing this script so
Yeah.
that we get busy and we don't ask the
That's
right
right.
question.
Well, really wise words. I love it. I think it's super important to remember those things, and it's awesome. And I'm super thankful to have you as a friend, and can't wait to see what the next 10 years holds. Right. So awesome. Thank you so much for the interview today. Thanks, Rana. I appreciate it.